Riley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, March 17th. Okay, so we have the moon in Gemini energy. We're going to be reaching that first quarter moon in Gemini energy just a couple of minutes into the day. And then, of course, we're going to see the moon actually go void, of course, after an interaction with Neptune, setting the scene for a very interesting dynamic. We are going to be transitioning into the moon in Cancer energy. That is the moon's rulership. And heads up, many people have a hard time when the moon is in Cancer because it brings up all the feels. We become a little bit more introverted, a little bit more defensive, a little bit more emotional and intuitive. There's a lot to process. There's new foundations of emotions that we have to kind of sort through, build upon, if you will. And because we're in Pisces season, this is going to be an extra amount of water added into this little soupy little situation that we got going on. So we can expect there to be a lot of hypersensitivity, not only to our emotional realm and our mental realm, but picking up on the subtle energies in our environment. Definitely going to be a heightened state of awareness. And for many of us, we are really going to have to test the boundaries on where it is that we have control over our mind, our body, and our inner realms of emotions and where our attention is actually going. So there are 10 different aspects taking place here today. 8 of them are going to involve the moon. 11 minutes into the day, we will have the moon in Gemini get into the boxing ring, square off with the sun in Pisces energy. This is what gives us our first quarter moon in Gemini. So the first quarter moon of any lunar phase is always a building point, a restless point where there is a little bit of tension, a little bit of conflict in order to push us into making a decision, into aligning with a choice point, even presenting a particular action for us to take to advance ourselves on a path, making some progress into the futuristic path, plan, and strategy, or taking an action and making a move to break away from the old system and structure, from the old thoughts, the old ideas, the old version of self. Whichever way this is manifesting for you, this is going to be a key indicator of some of the focus that we are going to have on particular areas of life, different topics and themes over the next couple of weeks, because this first quarter moon in Gemini actually activates the eclipse energy that we're now being sucked into. So this is going to be a very interesting dynamic. This, although is a tension point, there's a lot of high palpable energy. We can be inspired, we can be motivated. Either way, there's a certain amount of growth. Growing either away from certain situations and circumstances that are no longer in alignment with our vibration, and growing towards figuring out what it is that we want to do, what it is that we want to pursue from here. The moon in Gemini is then going to get into the boxing ring, square off, fight it out with Neptune. Neptune, of course, in this place of power, in this Pisces energy. So a similar vibe, except for the fact that Neptune really puts us in a situation where we're a little bit more hypersensitive than we were with the sun in Pisces. The sun, of course, shining a bright light on new ideas, new inspirations that now want to be fully expressed through our physical body, through our ego avatar. Neptune, on the other hand, is our dreams, our imagination, our fantasy. It's our spiritual realm, our intuition, our karma, our soul contracts. And what we're getting from this particular interaction is a lot of stimulation, first of all, too much stimulation. We are hypersensitive. We're picking up on all kinds of vibes. It can be very overwhelming. For many of us, we're going to want to kind of curl up in a ball and really kind of wade things out. We have a hard time focusing in on details. We have a hard time kind of staying in the positive mind frame at this particular juncture. But this is the last interaction that the moon in Gemini is going to make before going void, of course. And then once the moon goes void, of course, we're actually going to have a beautiful interaction with that north node in Aries energy. That's our soul path. That's our destiny point. So It does feel like, yeah, we become a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, there's a little bit of tension, a little bit of conflict. However, it's putting the squeeze on us in all the right ways in order to figure out what it is now that we want to do, what we want to pursue. There's new ideas, new circumstances for us to research, for us to explore, and there's a little bit of growth here. We are piecing together, maybe not the greater, grander vision that we were hoping to gain clarity on, but definitely where it is that we're moving away from a funk, from a situation, from a circumstance that has had us a little bit conflicted over the last couple of weeks. The moon, while still void, is going to semi-square, creating tension and conflict with Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings here in the Taurus energy. So although we would have had a moment previously with that North Node giving us a little bit of a glimmer of a vision, a hope, a wish, a dream on what it is that we're moving away from, what it is that we're gaining closer proximity to, just when that moment of clarity actually is realized, then we start questioning it, we start dissecting it, we start picking it apart. So instead of being in an optimistic, confident type of mood and attitude about our options, our opportunities, the possibilities that we definitely want to research and explore, this is kind of like our ego selves, full of fears and doubts and insecurities, really talking us out of something that we were very sure of just a moment ago. So we're not feeling the growth, we're feeling trapped. We're not feeling optimistic, we're a little bit of a negative Nancy. We're not feeling like we have options and opportunities, but again, that is just because the glimmer of the vision, the goal, the dream that we just received is a little bit overwhelming with all that we would have to do to actually align with that particular outcome and be in a vibration and a frequency where we can boss up to the roles and responsibilities that we would be required to embrace and embody in order to bring this new opportunity, this new option into life. So this is the point that we are going to see the moon shift into Cancer energy, and it's going to take us out of our headspace, put us all up in the feels. Instead of being out in the world wanting to kind of converse and communicate and interact with the world around us, with the people around us, now we're pulling inward. We just need to kind of find a new middle grounding point. We need to find a foundation in our emotions that make us feel safe and secure, and typically speaking, we tend to revert back to what is old, tried, tested, and true. The moon in Cancer really has a hold on the past. We have a hard time breaking away from the past, and we, typically speaking, tend to romanticize and get a little bit nostalgic, reframing our current circumstance and even some past circumstance in a better limelight than it actually appeared to be in. All of this is just a tricky little manipulation tactic that our egoic programming likes to play on us in order to convince us to settle for what it is that we currently have going on in our lives, to prevent us from evolving, prevent us from growing, prevent us from actually leveling up. So 5:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're locking into the moon in Cancer. And shortly thereafter, the moon in Cancer is going to make a positive interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this Aries energy. I actually really like this vibe because we've been anchoring in this new version of self. We've been, kind of eliminating the fragmented parts of the old version of self that built the old realm, that built the old reality that now we're no longer in alignment with. So emotionally speaking, because the moon is hypersensitive here in this Cancer energy, we're actually seeing ourselves from a positive limelight. We are seeing that we've done a little bit of growth. We've done a little bit of healing. We've done a little bit of repairment, especially with our inner dialogue, and especially with gaining a little bit more control over our emotions. We're almost becoming a little bit more aware, a little bit faster, if you will, where those self-sabotaging thoughts, patterns, and behaviors kick in, and we can nip it in the bud before it gets too far. So this is like us seeing the new version of ourselves actually be anchored in, and it's in a very favorable light. 7:23 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, we are going to have our yearly conjunction between the sun and Neptune. So of course, Neptune is in the latter degrees, 27 degrees to be specific, here in this Pisces energy. The sun now nearing that 27th degree as we kind of wrap up Pisces season, wrap up this old astrological calendar and prepare to dive into a new one when we move into Aries season. So of course, the sun in Pisces shining a bright light on our healing, on our transformation, on our goals, our visions, our dreams. Keep in mind that Piscean energy is a transitional energy. We're moving out of the old, we're moving into the new. We are examining the endings, closures needed in order for us to have a fresh start, a fresh beginning. The sun in conjunction with Neptune is definitely going to heighten our energetic awareness, heighten our emotions. So we're super sensitive to the world around us. We're super sensitive, maybe a little bit moody, so we want to keep ourselves in check. Our energy is kind of chill. It's kind of, just zenning out. We don't want to put ourselves in a lot of situations where physical energy is needed. Definitely low physical energy, high inner realm energy. Our intuition peaks, and we're going to gain a lot of insight when we're really in alignment with our intuition. We are probably going to lose sight of reality just a little bit because we move into la la land, but for good reason. We have to remind ourselves of the goal, the vision, the dream that we're now actually wanting to pursue, that we want to actually bring to life. So we may not actually be able to articulate or clearly define our goals or the path or plan or strategy on how it is that we're going to actually get there, but the feeling, the overwhelming understanding within us of where it is that we're being pushed away from certain things and pulled towards certain things, that is all the validation, all the confirmation, all the encouragement, all the support that we currently need. So this is essentially the renewal energy. You've been hearing me talk about when we jump into Aries season, that equinox energy kind of resets the karmic scales, and that Aries energy kind of renews and refreshes and resurrects and rebirths a new soul and spirit within us. Well, this is the first stage of kind of wrapping up the realignment, the recalibration that we've been in throughout Pisces season. This is putting us in a very hypersensitive, very strong, intuitive, very, I'm going to just say, sensitive state of being. And we are going to feel refreshed and renewed in our, let's call it faith, in our trust, in our vision, in our intuition, in our goals, in our emotions. So definitely going to be feeling the lovey-dovey vibes kick in with that particular interaction, but also consider that, again, a conjunction is just as much an ending as a beginning. And although the beginning is a lot more light and fluffy than the ending, we do have to, again, see where it is that we're closing the chapter on this transformation, on this healing journey, on the old version of self, on the old reality, in order for us to be refreshed, renewed in our soul and our spirit to jump in and initiate something new. Shortly thereafter, the moon in Cancer energy going to make a tough interaction with Pluto. Pluto, of course, the great transformer himself in this Aquarius energy. So this is kind of where our mood takes a dive. And again, we just have to remind ourselves that when we reach peak vibration, peak frequency, a new level of understanding, a new glimmer, a new vision, new hope, new dream, we usually see that energy kind of take us on the back end. And again, we're in Pisces season, so that Sun and Neptune conjunction was the top of the wave. We were riding that wave, but now we are kind of dipping down into the deepest, darkest part of that swell, and we have to be a little bit reminded of our fears, of our doubts, of our insecurities. We have to kind of, again, understand where the negative narrative kicks in to kind of talk us out of a lot of the good vibes, a lot of the good realizations that we just had. And so, yes, this isn't going to feel good. Yes, this is going to bring up a lot of, I'm going to call it triggers and activations where we feel a little bit guarded, feel a little bit unsure, uncertain. But again, Pluto does offer us the opportunity to flip the script and really allow those not so nice realizations to help us build something more empowering, something that makes us feel like we're in control of our emotions, like we have what it takes to kind of deal with whatever it is that we have to deal with. There is a major mood and attitude adjustment going on, and it is going to take us down into the darkness before we rise up to a new level of light. Now, Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves in this Aries energy, makes a positive interaction with Pluto shortly thereafter. And what this tells me is that, yes, emotionally speaking, we might have taken a little bit of a trip down the darker path of memory lane. However, Mercury in this Aries energy has no want, need, or desire to look back. We're only thinking about what it is that we want to do moving forward. And because Mercury rules over the lower level of our intellect and Pluto kind of rules over the deeper part of our psyche where the programming conditioning is stored, this is going to intensify the realization of our inner realm dialogue, our inner narrative on where it is that, guess what, we got to boss up, we got to empower ourselves, we have to really test the willpower, the discipline, the control that we have over our attention. Yes, it's hard to kind of control our emotions, but we always have the ability to process them in the highest form possible in order to support us instead of help break us down. But Mercury and Pluto kind of give us an opportunity to dissect where some of these darker thoughts are coming from, where it is that these emotions are coming out of our unconscious realm, and what we can do to bring them into our awareness, to flip the script and really have our weaknesses, have our vulnerabilities now turn into a source of power. This is going to reveal hidden details as well, especially where our emotions and our inner dialogue is kind of being manipulated by those darker force energies. And this is going to be a major change, a major transformation in our ideas, in our mental plane, in our focus, in our concentration, in order for us to figure out what it is that we can do better, where it is that we can improve, especially with the discipline that we need to have over our mental plane and our emotional realm. The moon in this Cancer energy is going to semi-square Uranus. Uranus is the great awakener here in the Taurus energy. And so there is going to be a little bit of tension coming out of these aha moments, this amount of brilliance that we just received between Mercury and Pluto. And what this is going to do is kind of show us where it is that we're creating problems for ourselves. We're creating anxiety within ourselves. We're actually anchoring in a more negative narrative than what it is that is available to us, because again, the moon in Cancer energy has an overly strong attachment to the old. We don't want to change. We don't want to make adjustments. We don't want to transform. And Uranus is over here pushing for those changes, pushing for that transformation. We can't keep things the same as they currently are, because many of us are very unhappy with the way that things are going. And so Uranus, the great awakener, is trying to open up our heart, open up our mind to new ways of doing things, to the smaller adjustments and changes that we could actually make in our physical realm in order to provide us with a new sense of safety, of security, of stability. But again, there's a lot of resistance with change here with the moon in Cancer. So the last thing that we have going on is the moon in Cancer trining beautiful interaction with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money in this Pisces energy. So again, water on water action. What I love about this is that it's going to illuminate for us a new want, need, and desire, especially where emotional safety, security, and stability is concerned, a little bit more reassurance in our relationship dynamics, a little bit more validation on what it is that we want more of. And of course, the minute that we realize that we want more out of life, we really have to understand that our egoic programming wants to focus on the lack of or scarcity mind, which of course puts us in a vibration and frequency that's only going to attract situations, circumstances, and scenario to overly, I'm going to say, emphasize the lack of, which we don't want to do. So there is a certain mood, certain attitude, certain perspective that you have to adopt to realize that you have the attitude of gratitude for your present moment, even the struggles, because it's really pushing you into a new level of empowerment that you wouldn't have arrived at otherwise. But we also realize where it is that we could improve, what it is that we could do better, what it is that we want more of, where it is that we're lacking certain elements in our lives, especially where relationships and finances are concerned, because that's Venus's jam. But at the same time, not lose ourselves in the poor, woe is me, I'm never going to have anything, I'm never going to get out of this rut. So there is a gentle balance in realizing new wants, needs, and desires without kind of beating up our current circumstance and beating it down and really devaluing our energy and our effort in this present moment. Because at one point in time, just remember, at one point in time, you prayed for the current situation that you're now looking to actually get out of. So we do have to balance that attitude of gratitude with realizing that we're grateful for what it is that we have, but because we are a new version of self, because we want to do better, because we want to improve, that leaves a lot of room for us to want more out of life.